on April 5th, 2022. Calling the meeting of West Liberty City Council to order. Present are Councilmembers Zacarias, Councilmember Dominguez, Councilmember McFerren, Councilmember Martinez, and Councilmember Diane. We will move on to the approval of the agenda.
Before you make a motion to approve the agenda, I would ask whoever makes that motion to please amend the agenda this evening and remove items A and B under the mayoral appointment and proclamation on number 4. This afternoon, I was made aware, and I want to thank Councilwoman Dominguez. There was a state law that was passed about 10 years ago. It was 4 years after I left the state. I was not aware of it. And evidently my staff was not aware of it. I'm assuming a lot of small towns aren't. But we are required to try to bring about gender balance on our local boards and commissions. And in order to do that, we have to advertise. We treated this as I did probably 15 years ago as we recruited to try to find people that you think were willing to serve, because it's hard to find people in small communities. I did speak with our codifier. I spoke with our attorneys. I spoke with our building inspector, and I spoke with both of the candidates and informed them of what I was planning to do, and they all understood. We will have to advertise probably through Facebook and the paper, trying to recruit some members for the Board of Adjustment, as well as Planning and Zoning. We've got 2 openings on Board of Adjustment, 1 on Planning and Zoning. If we are unsuccessful after 3 months of trying to bring gender balance to those boards, then we're able to appoint anybody that we want. So I apologize for that error on my part. I was not aware of that change in the law. And again, I want to thank Councilwoman Dominguez for bringing that to my attention.
No, I was not aware of it until yesterday. So.
And it's one of those things, in talking with the attorneys, nothing may happen, but if we were to appoint these individuals and they made a decision, that could be challenged, and that decision could be thrown out. So I don't want to put the city at risk. I don't want to put those boards at risk of making a decision that could be challenged. So thank you.
Have a motion to approve the amended agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, the agenda is approved. The amended agenda is approved. I'll move on to item 3, public hearing. A public hearing on proposed to enter into a general obligation loan agreement in the amount not to exceed $200,000. So we'll open the public.
Need a motion to second.
Yes. I was gonna say we will open with a motion.
Thank you.
You know how I think, so.
Motion to open public hearing and proposal to enter into general obligation loan agreement.
Second.
Oh.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay, approved 5-0, so we'll open the public hearing. So if we have any public comments or correspondences that we'd like to talk about for this to enter into the general obligation loan. Any comments?
I'll give the public a chance first, and then I'll speak to it if anybody has anything. This particular hearing is for an agreement with the state. The city had to be the applicant. Travis Shields, as you're aware of, is wanting to build a commercial and residential complex on the site formerly referred to as the old tire shop across from Gary BP. In fact, he's taken down the tire shop. When we started this project, he was working with Ken Brooks, and Ken is here tonight on behalf of WeLead. We had originally received a loan amount for a little over $430,000. And when we started looking at the project, we met with Travis and we met with his banker and decided that the payback on that loan, even though it's a 0 interest loan, was a little too high. And it just wasn't going to cash flow. So Ken went back to the state, worked with them. They proposed going to a $200,000 note. It's a no interest loan. And rather than quarterly payments, it would be 5 annual payments. But the first annual payment starts this December. In meeting with Travis and with his banker, they understand that if this is approved before any funds would be expended, we will have to have a development agreement with Mr. Shield as well as to how this will be repaid. He is looking at the possibility of creating that as a TIF project as well. They've worked on the numbers to cash flow it. And unfortunately, because of the delay in taxing, there is a slight possibility the city may have to make a payment or two on this loan, but it'll be tied back through. We've got 4 different ways in talking with our attorney that we will look for some sort of assurance from Mr. Shield that the city would get repaid if that were to be the case, unless he decides that he just wants to write out a check at the end of the year if his project's not quite done. But I'm not sure if that's going to happen yet because we haven't had those conversations. But it's all legal in talking with John Danos. It's something that cities do all the time. And we would look that this $200,000 loan would probably be some of the last money into the project to make sure that the project gets built. And then we'll have some sort of a personal guarantee, whether it's a second mortgage, letter of credit from the bank, another property that he may want to put up as collateral, or there's a couple other ways that we can get some sort of a guarantee from him. So tonight, all we're doing is approving the state portion. The state's been actually pushing the city to get this done for the last several months, and we've had to make some of these changes. So even if you approve this tonight, it's until we get a development agreement with Mr. Shields, we will not disperse or access those funds. So.
How many apartments that'll provide?
Well, he was going to, in the original concept, it was 3,600 square feet of commercial and 3,600 square feet of residential on the upper floors. It would be three bedroom apartments. To try to cash flow this, one of the things that he is attempting to do is to, and it was something that the county assessor said, you might look to help cash flow, put another apartment or two on the lower level. And I know Mr. Shields met with the Board of Adjustment last night, and they're going to be meeting again next week to discuss that. And again, it all comes down to what commercial space will rent for, what apartments can rent for, and how to cash flow to make sure that he can make his bank payment, his payment back to the state. Ken, is there anything that you want to add? You've been a part of it. Did I miss anything?
No, you were very thorough. Thank you. And just to point out that WeLead has the utmost confidence in this project, and we would not be recommending to the city. We did not have. So ultimately, it's going to be up to him, right? But looking at the supply and demand, he's not going to set it. He's not going to outprice this. So it would definitely be worth every penny for these plans that he's put. These are very nice apartments, or very nice overall building. Yes, people will be able to afford them. But they will be leased almost a year.
It's not before. It's not before. Not yesterday. Any other comments? So is this right? We close the hearing before we vote on it?
Yes. Yeah. If you have no other comments, is there anybody online that has any comments, Shari?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
So, roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. The public hearing is closed. So now we will do resolution 20220405-17. Resolution taking additional action on proposal to enter into a general obligation loan agreement not to exceed the amount of $200,000. Motion. Okay. Any discussion? Yes. Yes. That passes 5-0. Resolution 20220405-17. So we'll move on to number 4, mayoral appointment and proclamation. So this proclamation is for junior achievement. And I will read it. Whereas the city of West Liberty recognizes junior achievement of the Heartland's purpose to inspire and prepare young people to succeed in a global economy. Whereas the city of West Liberty will observe junior achievement of JA Day on April 7th, 2022 as an opportunity to recognize and celebrate junior achievement of the Heartland for empowering our young people to own their economic success. Whereas junior achievement of the Heartland's educational contribution equips our young people to become the next generation of productive employees, self-sufficient citizens to ensure the economic prosperity of West Liberty. Whereas junior achievement of the Heartland includes opportunities for educators, parents, and community volunteers to connect classroom learning to life after graduation. Whereas it's fitting for West Liberty to support the goals of junior achievement of the Heartland and encourage the continuing partnership with business, education, and community in achieving these set goals. Whereas it is fitting for parents, educators, businesses, and other members of the community to join the celebration in an effort to ensure the future success and economic health of our young people and communities in which they live. Now therefore, I, Katie McCullough, Mayor of West Liberty, to provide the official recognition on April 5th, 2022, April 7th, 2022 as Junior Achievement Day in the city of West Liberty. So we will move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Do you need the, oh, I did, you need to approve the proclamation. We already did it.
You can.
You can. if
You
you
can
want
go
to.
ahead
You know,
and,
March, but you certainly can.
It's up to you, Mayor, I just, if anybody has anything to add or say.
I mean, I don't think it hurts if you want to make a motion to approve a proclamation. It just shows the council behind it.
correct.
Motion to approve the proclamation.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So now we'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda. We have a motion.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
I'll second.
I did have some questions on the meeting notes, but I addressed them with city manager, Haugland about that. We discussed it. He answered my questions for me, in regards to some of the things that we talked about at the last meeting, as well as the
All those in favor? Any opposed? Move on to, we're on to number 6 now. Yes. Under voucher claims. Motion.
second.
Any discussion, any questions on the items?
This is for just claim list number 1.
Or claims? In the amount of $446,405.84. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is approved 5-0. And then item B, vendor voucher claims list number 2, Cardinal Sun Graphics, in the amount of $1,516.30.
Motion.
Second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Abstain.
Thank you. Any opposed? Okay, let's pass this 4-0 with 1 abstain. Vote that members are carried. So we'll move on to item 7. We are flying today, folks. Public comments and correspondence. This is a time set, and I read this every time. This is a time set aside for comments from the public on topics of city business other than those listed in the agenda. No action may be taken. Please state your name and address for the record. Keep your comments to no more than 2 minutes ish. So we'll start with public comments, and Lisa Browning requests to speak on behalf of downtown events.
And would just note, with Lisa being on the agenda, she is granted up to 5 minutes. Just
Yeah,
want- That's not on
I'm
that.
not-
That's not on the deal, but just wanted to make sure that everybody's aware of
I
that.
can't give everybody whatever.
I know you do, but I just wanted
to.
I just wanted to point out that there's chances for more than 2 minutes.
I am Lisa Browning. This is my husband Bruce. We own Shop 121 and Basis Place Guest House on 3rd Street. And I'm here tonight to ask you to rescind the approval of closing the street for the Children's Festival and to consider not having the street closed for any events. I spoke at the council meeting last September after the Children and Latino Festival, and half of you were here then, and the others half are new. So just to recap, the street was closed last year in front of all of our businesses downtown. Saturdays are probably our busiest day it's our busiest day, but probably the busiest day for all the businesses down there. I had 3 people come in all day. I know that in the past, Amber
Cardona.
at Slightly Vintage has just closed on those days for the Children's Festival because parking is non-existent. Dept at the movie theater has consistently closed because there is no parking. Last year, Juanita's closed early because people were just using their bathroom. Puebla closed early after she had to kick some unruly teenagers out, and she was not getting any business because the food vendors outside were getting the business. I came in on Sunday just to do some things at my shop. The street was a mess, the sidewalks were a mess, the trash cans were overflowing. A window was broken at the laundromat. There was vomit outside the laundromat. I spoke with Dave on Monday morning. He was brand new, so I kind of had to come in and meet him on that note, but we don't open till Wednesday, but all the other shopkeepers had to do the cleanup, and he quickly rounded up the streets department to clean on Tuesday, but that's again 3 days after the festival. Our city has beautiful parks. We have a fairground that is wonderful with a stage and benches and all of that. My proposal is that we use those spaces for festivals. Something that has come to mind as I've been thinking about this, and maybe you're not aware of this, but all of the businesses or buildings downtown are owned by private people. That's something I hadn't thought of. They're not owned by the city. They are private people that own those. They are also, if you look at the majority of the buildings, they are also, the building owners are also the business owners. If you look at Jan's, Yamali right next door with the salon, we've got Farlinger's at the laundromat, we've got Yen's, you've got Brooks with the building, the Martins, you can go on down to Fred's Feed, Valerio's, Ethan Anderson, Amber, Monica, Jim Keel, Nicole Rock, me, Bruce. There's just a pride that we have taken and an investment in this community. Between the 2 buildings, we have over $300,000 invested in just those 2 buildings. We've also flipped some houses and remodeled a 12-plex. So we're invested in this community. I have had my business open for 3 years, 2 of which have been during a pandemic. So just imagine that. And then we are dealing with online shopping. We are dealing with people that are not going to work. They're just working from home. So do they need clothes now? And yet that's what my store has. So we're battling a lot of things. And I really don't want to feel like we're battling all of you. This festival, I probably should have started with that. The festival is a great thing. I participated many years as the PTO president that I was for 7 years, having a booth at the festival. I took my son every year that he was able to go. So I think it's a fabulous event. I know they're trying and they gave you a great proposal last week. But the fact that they're going to spread tents out and draw some chalk up to my doorway is not going to help the matter. The people that are attending the festival are there for the festival. If you've got little kids, you're not going to drag them into my boutique. And if you're there for the Latino festival later on, again, that's what you're there for. I had to park behind Lisa's place last year at 8:30. There were no parking spots. I asked them if they could move cars and make an announcement. That never happened. So as much as, you know, we can all work together and they can spread tents out and say, we're gonna do all of this, the bottom line is the street will still be closed and no one will be able to get to the downtown businesses. I really feel like we've all made a great investment in our downtown and our community at large. And I just want you guys to value that and honor that, because right now I don't feel that by your decision last week. So I'm asking that you cancel that request, and whether it needs to be an ordinance that the streets are not closed down for things like this, then I would like that to be, because I feel like every time this comes up, it sounds like a great event and you guys have to think about it. Whereas if it was an ordinance and you just go, no, that's not what we have downtown. Festivals are held at our parks or they're held at the fairgrounds. So again, I would appreciate your support in this. I know I've got the backing of several of our businesses downtown. I've asked them all how they felt about it. And I know that, like I said, the committee is trying to do things differently this year, but the bottom line is with the street closed, all of us will either choose to close, which is not good, or we will be open and not have any business. So.
May I respond?
I'm
In a minute. Thank you.
That's what I have to say. I'm in favor of the festival, just not the location. So I would like them, or all of you, to reconsider so that our downtown district can be what it is, a downtown retail and business district. Thank you.
I just wanted to thank you for coming in and appreciate your willingness to step up and express your concerns. Lisa did reach out to me last week. I just called her back. And that was last Thursday about this issue. So I appreciate that. Didn't appreciate being hung up on, but I appreciate the fact that you
I
did
said happy
reach out to
birthday
me.
and goodbye.
And so, but I just wanted to say that, you know, this is community wide and it has a long-standing history behind it. And even though your business may not be open at 8 o'clock in the morning, even if the street was not closed down, I believe we would still have a parking issue, because most definitely a lot of vendors or a lot of patrons would still be parking on the street. So parking, I think.
If
would
it's at
still be
the
an
park
issue.
or the fairgrounds, they wouldn't be parking on Third Street though.
Yeah,
That's
but
a long distance away. And the
It
fact
is.
that it's been traditionally held down there doesn't mean that's where it has to be held.
no, it doesn't.
We're finding a lot of things in
Let me,
our.
can I finish?
Okay, yes, I'm sorry.
You're right, but this is something that we would want to highlight the town, and the whole purpose of that to begin with was to bring together people to downtown, highlight downtown, bring more traffic to downtown, and have the event really blossom into a longstanding, you know, Eastern Iowa event, so that people would be able to say, hey, there is a business there, I can come back, you know, and be a patron of that business, because I know that's there. So I know that maybe you're speaking for a group of people, but I other than that, I know that last year it was a mess, I agree. But we are trying to work with the groups, and I feel as though it would behoove us to at least give a second chance to see if we can make it right. And try and work with them. We don't routinely close down Third Street, but I think, you know, if we can compromise or perhaps come together to create a community event, perhaps it would benefit both. That's all.
Well, can I?
Yeah, let's let Tom
Yeah.
comment.
Yes, thank you, Lisa. Appreciate your input. I will say that Stephanie also went around and surveyed every business that was in the affected area. And she has a sheet of surveys that you can look at to see how they respond.
She did not come and talk to mine. And if she had asked if I was in favor, I would have said, yes, I am in favor of the event. That's not the location. What did you say? Okay,
Yeah, you represent.
okay.
Several things I'd like to say. First of all, This was envisioned as a street festival for downtown. I've spoken to at least 2 or 3 families that ended up moving to West Liberty and bringing their input and their volunteerism and their business to this town because they first became aware of the town when they attended Children's Festival. The businesses that are downtown may have a more difficult time that day, but there are many, many businesses represented down there and volunteer groups, people raising money for good causes, kids raising money to send the dance troupe to here or there. Those people have only that one opportunity to be seen and to have their, be able to raise money. And the downtown, the streets, it's true, those are private buildings and they're owned by individuals, but the downtown belongs to the community. The streets belong to all of us. And this was envisioned as a street festival, maybe 25 years, it's been a good run. So if it ends up being killed, so be it. But it would give us a lot more time to work on their shows. But I would love to keep on doing it. But I have no interest in doing it on the fairgrounds or in the park because it was envisioned as a street festival. So that's.
My uncles came from Del Rio all the way up here to visit, and they were able to do the festival this past year, and they loved it so much. They don't get that in Del Rio, even though it's mostly Latinos in Del Rio. They don't see that kind of celebration, and so they're coming back.
The thing I love about it is that it really is a whole community celebration. It's not, it's with everybody. The Children's Festival is everybody. And actually, so is the Latino Festival.
Have we ever, have we ever sat down, the parties together to, I know you came up with some different things this year to try to highlight the businesses, the tents and the truck, which Lisa, it sounds like.
And the food vendors on Columbus Street instead of in front of the businesses on 3rd Street.
But is there perhaps not another solution that would make the closure of the streets something that would be?
Well, no one can get to our businesses. That's the thing. And like I pointed out, if you're there for the Children's Festival, you're not coming into my store. The salons are all there.
Pop-up shops or something. I know
Again,
it's extra work.
Again, it's a festival. This is our downtown, our busiest downtown retail district. And to me, it just is not the place. I appreciate the work that they've gone into to come up with other ideas. What about moving it up to 4th Street in front of the bank instead of in front of all of us? That's an option. They could still get to their puppet theater on Columbus or Calhoun. They could come in the alleyway to Rendezvous Park. And then if we park people north of there instead of down on 3rd Street, we could all function. So I feel like I've given several other options.
None of the other streets are wide enough to go into the yellow street now.
The street is the same width up there in front of the bank as 3rd Street would be, I'm sure.
It's one day out of the year, one day.
And do you have a business downtown?
No, I don't, but all I'm saying is if your business, and this is not meant as an insult, but if your business and those downtown are reliant on that one day that we close down 3rd Street, then everybody's in more trouble than I thought. Because it's only
where this stems
one
from though,
day.
Diane?
And
Okay.
like Monica said, it was originally designed as a street festival to bring people to our downtown. And if you move it to the fairgrounds, you move it to a park, we're no longer highlighting our downtown. And I agree with Cara. It's, if somebody comes and they sees your shop and it happens to be closed, if they're really interested, they're gonna come back.
Can I add one more thing? I have been a part of our downtown task force as well, which the mayor set up maybe 5 years ago. And one of the big things was our downtown beautification. We worked tirelessly. There was a group of us volunteers met every month for 3 years and tried to get the CDBG grant. We were denied the first year, but that would have allowed a facade grant for 10 to 12 businesses downtown. The city agreed to take it over the following year and then dropped the ball on it. This comes back around to, you can say it's one day, but I feel there's a lack of respect and honor for what those of us that have done downtown to make this town what it is, because we do it every day. We're down there every day, painting, remodeling. We've added 2 apartments. Frank and Emily are doing that. So it is almost like a slap in the face, Diane, to say that it's just one day. And
I don't think any of us feel
yeah,
that, but it is
but
only.
my
one day.
business is not gonna suffer because I'm closed one day. But the lack of respect and the lack of feeling like our downtown should be just for downtown and not, let's close it down to have a party and a festival, when there are many other places that can be. I can't take my business somewhere else that day. And there are other restaurants in the movie theater and on you can.
I will say that I don't feel like it's a lack of respect that people want to close the streets, and it's probably quite the contrary, that people are proud of our town and want to show it off and have people come
Yeah, but
here.
when it's detriment to our businesses that day, that's what I'm saying. So
Well, I mean, I have a marketing background, so when I think of businesses and who their demographics are and what they're trying to market to, we're having a whole lot of people downtown, you know, if they don't want to go into your store, maybe we can work on providing something special that day to incentivize people for going into your store for purchasing things. You know, to make it more, like, get them in your door for the first time, so they will come back, you know? Or, I don't know.
My big thing is do a pop-up shop, get a few
And
things. from
maybe the
everybody's
city
things.
can provide you, or the festival maybe can provide business owners a free booth for those pop-up shops.
So we're planning on buying a bunch of new canopies so that we can highlight each business with a canopy in front of the building that has a sign with the name of the business and a reminder to people that the restrooms are for customers only, and to really highlight that business. And of course, these people with little children probably aren't going to come into your, but it's not only people with little children that come to the festival. There are plenty of unaccompanied adults that come to the full evening.
And if there are things that you have in your store that are more like less delicate, hardy, and we need to collect some volunteers to be in a booth outside and try to sell those things while you're running the store inside, and to try to traffic people through there. I mean, there's a lot of ways that we can get people more invested in visiting your store more than that, just one day too. Because I
I
would
really
hate,
tried really hard to address those concerns, and I have to say Stephanie's put a lot of work into address those concerns.
I just want to add that when Lisa called me last year, yeah, the downtown was a mess and we should have been there sooner. I think I'd been here a couple weeks when it started, and Adam's not going to like to hear this, but I told Lisa and I told Cara this afternoon that if this festival does continue to the downtown, what we will do on Sunday is we will have a crew come down to make sure that the trash cans are emptied. We've got blowers blowing trash into the street, and we run our street sweeper on those streets where the festival's been. So come Monday morning, when businesses are back open, you know, they're ready for business and not waiting on us to clean up from that festival. You know, I did throw out some of the other ideas to Lisa last year, but I've also, you know, this is my 6th community that I've worked for. And frankly, every community that I've been in, they have a downtown festival. And the longest one is Accessor Springs. They have a historic downtown, and they run a 3-day event. I mean, it's booths for 3 or 4 blocks that are just on top of each other, you know, but people expect it. And I get what Lisa's saying. I mean, I can see both sides of the story, but, you know, my promise is to whoever, you know, if this event goes on, Adam, I'm afraid, but we're going to have our guys down, even if I have to come help on Sunday, you know, help dump trash and, you know, blow stuff. But we will make sure that if the festival is downtown, that those streets are cleaned come Monday morning.
We already have some volunteers, by the way, that have spoken up. Lisa Wurzbach and the family immediately said, we'll come in Sunday morning and help clean up the streets. So I don't think it's part of the problem.
And but we need to make sure that we run our street sweeper through there and, you know, and the trash gets picked up and stuff. But, you know, anybody that wants to help volunteer, great. But I committed to having several individuals down there, and I can be one of those that can run a blower. I can't run the street sweeper, but I can dump trash cans. Well, I could, but I don't know that Adam would want me to. So, you know, it's just, but no, you know, if the festival is there, we will make sure that our business owners are taken care of. So when they open up on Monday morning, but you know, you won't be able to tell there's been a festival there over the weekend.
And is there something that can be done, you know, on Saturday if businesses do decide to close, where we, again, like Dana was saying, do some promotion or, hey, come in Monday when we're open again and, you know, have a cookie here. I own my own business. I had a pottery studio in Denver where they did a lot of these types of events. So, and I was at the point in my life too, where I understand, like for me at that point, one day would make a difference between whether or not I could afford groceries. Like I was 20, 30 years old. But so I really do understand. And, I feel like there's a solution there that we're just not seeing or thinking about that could work for everybody and accomplish the same goals that you have and the goals that the festival has as well. And anything, you know, I can do to help for that, including using the street sweeper. I'm gonna come bug you now about the street sweeper.
Do you have a CDL?
I can get one.
By September?
October.
Don't test her, she can totally do that.
So. I mean, are we looking for a resolution tonight, or are we looking to open a discussion and give us a little bit of opportunity to kind of think about it?
I'm not inclined to change my vote.
I said it's no action, but take it.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
So we'll move on unless there are other public comments from someone who's not on the agenda. Anybody online?
I do not see anything, no.
City council, public comments or correspondence? I have something too that I'll bring up. Parking tickets. I've been receiving correspondence about parking tickets. And so just kind of, I know, right? I don't know if Chief Werling wants to say anything about this, but there has been some complaints about overzealous, perhaps parking tickets. I don't think that that's the case, but just maybe some miscommunication or some dropped communication between what's supposed to be happening and what's told, and there's lots of pieces, and somebody was told they could park somewhere and then they got a ticket anyway.
I think that was taken care of, and I visited with Adam, and I'd said something in after the fact that on that particular corner, it is painted yellow, but there is a white stripe. So, you know, you park, don't you park? It is kind of confusing. I talked to Adam. I think his goal was to remove that white line, but it has to be ground off. And it's done now.
Okay, so it's no longer parking.
Isn't there a fire hydrant? No? On the other side.
I think part of it and I talked to Adam, and I think a lot of it had to do with visibility for corners is why they set that up. But
Semis and tractors.
I said, as long as that line was there, we weren't going to issue tickets. So if a ticket was issued, the line was there. I think I asked Chief, I think Lee did as well, to have that ticket removed. But once the line was removed, then we would enforce that parking, which leads to another point that late last year, prior to the election, we were going to get the safety committee together, which now we've got, we kind of went through getting folks on that. We do want to visit with the safety committee to talk about allowing some parking in the downtown overnight, because we do have a number of folks that live down there. I think there are some things that we can do as a city to allow that. So, residents that are living upstairs aren't getting tickets or their visitors during certain times. But we also, Chief and I are going to have a discussion this week regarding some staffing issues that will come back, and we want to meet with the committee as well to get the public safety committee's input on that. So I think our goal, I think Chief and I hope to get together this week. So whether the public safety committee is available next week or not, if you are, we'd like to set something up and start that dialogue about staffing as well as parking in the downtown. Chief, did I miss anything or anything that you want to add?
I'm always open to hear people's positions on parking citations. I know that Adam updated some signage in the city. So that was, while it allowed people to park more, it upset people because they had previously gotten citations before the signage. So, but we are trying to make some positive strides, and I noticed the signage change and checking with Adam, and they did it purposefully. So, we're taking baby steps. We're trying to get there. So made it more clear. Yes. But I'm willing to talk to anybody about if they have any questions, they can stop in. I'm usually in the office, and if I'm not, shoot me an email. And if you can't get a hold of me, the city manager can, or anybody at City Hall. So, yeah.
Or just call 911 and.
Don't do that unless it's a real emergency.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was contacted some time ago by Ed Moreno, and he wants to revisit the possibility of West 30 acquiring Sister City. So I think, Ken, are you working with that on that?
Yes.
Okay.
I informed Councilwoman McFerren that there was a meeting scheduled for, I believe, this Friday at 1:30
This part, okay.
to have that discussion about the sister city.
You're on.
If I have more than 3 council, I have to post it. So if more than 3 council members are to come, please let me know and we post it.
I will be there.
Doesn't mean that you're not welcome.
I'm happy to post it if y'all want to come. That's not the point. I just want to make sure that we don't violate it.
1:30 on Friday.
1:30 on Friday.
Do you know if Mr. Dept is involved with that? You will believe that, okay. He's from Muscatine, and I believe he's very familiar with acquiring sister cities. He's the one originally gave that information.
Is there a particular city that Ed has in mind? Or is that?
No, it was just trying to begin the process, or at least understand how the process starts, and then look beyond that.
Dr. Moreno has an interest in Latin American specific.
Any other city council public comments or correspondence?
Alan, 2 weeks ago, I passed a lot of complaints from the lady and Morgan on 4th Street, saying that the gravel road is still a gravel road. It didn't seal.
I had a 25-minute conversation with them.
Okay.
Also talked to him about it.
And I drove by today and Adam, I've had this conversation. And I had it with Cara as well this afternoon. We have a number of streets in town that are considered seal coat streets. And what you do is basically provide maintenance. And that's shooting a hot oil on that surface. And then the chips are dropped by a spreader, and they typically put more chips than you really need, but they want it to kind of, the oil, or when it gets hot, it soaks in. Unfortunately, sometimes right after you get a seal coat street done, I'm not blaming all teenagers, but I jumped my kid because I saw him do it once on a street and I was ticked and told him he was gonna have to pay for it. But they'll do a burnout or they'll come to a sliding stop. And like I said, it's just a thin coat of oil, and it's a small rock basically. And it's not like our brick streets, it's not like a concrete street, and it's not like an asphalt street. Those are permanent type streets that are, there for 10, 20 years, 30 years longer. Problem is on chip seal, on a really heavy traffic road, like when I lived in Wilton, we had all of our streets were chip sealed with the exception of downtown and Highway 6. But like the and I don't remember the name of the street that went by the high school, but that had so much traffic, it seemed like we chip sealed that every year. And then you had neighborhoods that had low amounts of traffic that you might chip seal every 5 to 7, 8 years, but it's not a permanent solution. And a lot of small towns have chip seal programs because they can't afford to put in all concrete streets and, and asphalt streets. So there's nothing wrong with the chip seal. And in fact, on like a lot of our chip seal streets, they have curb, which helps hold them in place. Or without the curb, you would see those falling apart much quicker. And, the goal is, that I think our chip seal happened late. And then what you try to do after you're done, and you've allowed it to kind of set in, then you kind of bring your sweeper through and you pick up that excess rock and you get rid of it. But every city I've worked for has had them. And when they first put it down, it's dusty and they complain about living on gravel streets. And to an extent, it is dusty and, but the first rain usually helps that. But again, most small communities can't afford to, put in asphalt and concrete on every street that they have. So chip seal does serve a very good purpose for certain streets. And I drove that street today and you can tell a couple areas where somebody came either to a quick stop or they took off quick and maybe peeled off a little bit of that rock early on and you see the black, but it'll, when the summer heat comes, it'll heat up and we can throw some additional rock and, cars driving over will take care of that issue.
When they do those, you're supposed to wait 60 to 90 days before taking the street sweeper over it, so you don't peel all the chips off the ground.
All right.
And they laid it early August, so that puts us into September, October. That's leaf season. Short hell, it didn't get done. I apologize for that, but I also, if I took people off the leaves, they'd be complaining about leaves not getting picked up. The black circles on those roads, when they do them, is people turning their tires coming off the curb. When they park, they turn out. That's all that is. Okay. And in the middle, they overlay it 6-8 inches. So that gets beat down on every road and it's always black, but the chips are all the way through the road. And it's just a maintenance thing. It helps the UV protection of the asphalt and stuff.
Thank you for this.
Council comments?
I don't have any public comments, but I have a committee report unless Diane is wanting to move on.
Yeah, you guys can do it now.
Or is it back in
We can also do it in reports.
Yep.
Okay.
It's up to you. You guys can do it in either location.
Committee report.
Yeah, let's do it in our item 9 when we get there. City manager, city clerk, any other?
Don't have anything.
No, I do not have anything.
Okay, great. We move on to new business. Item D, discussion and appropriate follow-up with Council Latina on September 10th, 2022. So, the motion? The motion. Okay, discussion.
I noticed that in the application,
Yep, he's in the corner.
there isn't any insurance documents attached to it.
Councilman McFerren, I did reach out to Lee, even though she was out of the office. Typically, the insurance, we review that 30 days prior because it's usually a short-term policy. So we'll make sure 30 days prior that everything's in order for that to take place.
Okay. So I believe that has to be.
Yes.
Yep, they have to have that in place in order to do
They
it.
provided it every year. It's just, it's a little early to provide it because that policy typically is only good for about 30 days. So we'll review that prior to the event.
Okay. Okay. And then on your map, I noticed you are asking for barricades, cones, electric use, garbage containers, and portable bathroom. I think possibly an issue with not having enough or not having portable bathrooms. I don't know where we're at with that.
Lee and I had a discussion before I was out of the office last week. We are doing some investigation to see the cost to bring in some additional bathrooms and what that might cost, and we'll make a determination whether or not the city should provide that.
Okay, so there's a possibility that that would be a cost that the festival would have to absorb.
And we looked at it from the standpoint that with this being the 25th year, and from what we've heard, they expect quite a few more people in town, and we want to make sure that we've got enough facilities to take care of the crowd that could be here that day.
Any other discussion? Just go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item B passes 5-0. Move on to item B, discussion and appropriate follow-up with the West Liberty Chamber of Commerce for citywide community. Motion.
Actually, do you want to
If
talk
that
on
works.
behalf?
Yeah.
And then I will say some stuff as well for you guys.
So
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have-
No,
Nope.
that's just my newbie.
Yep, nope, you're okay.
And me, who can't seem to remember.
Go for it.
So for those of you that don't already know me, my name is Melissa Stagg. I'm the director of the Liberty Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for letting me come in this evening. The WMG tractor parade is coming to Washington County Fairgrounds this summer. Some of you may not be aware of that. But that is happening in June. And what that is it's essentially 5 days of not large tractors, but your antique style tractors, your smaller tractors that are going to be at our fairgrounds. They have registration capped at 500 tractors. They're expecting at least 400. With each of those tractor drivers also comes their family that gets to come along and spend 5 days in West Liberty. That's gonna bring a lot of people into our community. So the chamber is doing what we can to prepare for that. One of the things that we would like to do, and we're asking for the council's help with, is to have a citywide cleanup day on Saturday, June 11. We would like to have a few hours that morning dedicated to cleaning up public spaces, but also allowing, if there's any potential property owners that need to do some tidying up, give them a really good excuse and a time to do that. So what we're asking from the city council is the use of 3 dumpsters, which has been provided to us in the past. The last year that it was done was 2019. With the last couple of years, we haven't all been out together cleaning things up so much. We've been cleaning things up at home. But we are asking for 3 dumpsters to be placed throughout town, 1 at the football field, 1 in the proximity of the backside of Running Park, and 1 in the proximity of Watson Park, so that we can really focus on our public areas and also allow to get some really good cleanup, present our best possible face to what could literally be thousands of people coming into our community and seeing what we have to offer. I know there have been concerns in the past with people leaving items that are not allowed to be placed in the dumpsters. So what we are proposing is having a volunteer at each dumpster site throughout the duration of the morning to help assist with, this can be disposed of here, or I'm really sorry, this is not something that can go in this dumpster at this time. You're going to have to take that to the landfill. We do have volunteers that are actively ready to do the cleanup day with us, but we're also recruiting additional volunteers. And I know that your guys' budget has already been worked on for this year. So I don't know if it's something that's possible, but I really am hoping. I feel like it would be a really great opportunity for us to, again, put our best face forward to literally hundreds of people who are going to be coming in and out of our town for a good solid 5 days this summer. Yep, so on Sunday, June 12th, everybody starts coming in. That's when registration is. That's when the tractors come in. They're also going to be on display down at the fairgrounds on Sunday the 12th. So if anybody wants to bring, the family out, whether it's the kids or the parents or whatever that looks like, everybody's going to have their tractors out. You'll see everyone very proud of their tractors. It's very exciting for us to have this coming into our community. So I really want to highlight that this is something we should be very proud to have coming on. And then Monday the 13th, Tuesday the 14th, and Wednesday the 15th, they have separate routes that lead through town
circle through smaller communities in the area and come back to the fairgrounds every evening. Again, all of those things are going to be open to the public. I don't want to steal any thunder from WMT because they have so many hours of manpower and they have an amazing group that's actually taking care of all of the tractor cave details. We're just trying to help take care of the West Liberty details and make sure that we're putting our best face forward. That process and shading.
It's about, the last one was $60,000. I spoke with Clerk this morning. She said that we do not have that in our funds. She did recommend possibly doing something like a beautification announcement, having our communication specialists like put something out there in favor of cleaning up the city, having the property owners take a little bit more pride in their homes and stuff. I did speak with Eric about it today as well, and he agreed that that would be something, but that was Clerk Gert's recommendation, was doing something to promote beautification of this before that comes through town.
And Adam maybe will speak to it too. I mean, he's one of them.
Are you talking about the big roll-off dumpsters?
No, we were looking for just the regular size dumpsters. I know in the past we've had the oversized ones. We're actually asking specifically not for the oversized dumpsters so that people aren't inclined to try and put large items in them.
What is the purpose of the dumpsters that?
So we're gonna have,
We can't do that, we can't just all dump our old mattresses and stuff.
right, so a lot of it is we're gonna be cleaning up any litter that's around town, any yard waste, those kinds of things. We would encourage everyone else to do the same. I know, chain link fences are prone to always having things stuck in them. I happen to live just outside of town, but our ditches are prone to having a lot of things just randomly land in them, and I know that happens frequently as well. So, for us, we viewed it as a way to the community as a whole put their best face forward.
The only problem with spreading dumpsters around the community, even with volunteers, if you don't get those dumpsters moved quick enough, you end up getting a lot of extra stuff dumped.
Is it something
If you were
the
gonna
state does that they could be given plastic bags and those plastic bags put I
In the
don't know what,
dumpsters?
at the recycling center?
Well, every year we take a 3-yard, last, it's 3 years, we said, there was always a 3-yard downtown, so our medium-sized dumpster, and that was always full of trash bags and litter and just stuff around railroad tracks and little stuff you just pick up off the ground. That's what he's talking about.
It sounds like an adopt a highway type of effort, where they just want to pick up trash, blow away trash around the community. This doesn't sound
Like
like
a
you're talking appliances and furniture.
Yeah, no, I'm not asking people to clean out their basements because we have people coming to town. I'm
Yeah.
looking for clean up your yard and.
Do you feel like a citywide?
Yeah.
Sound.
Yeah, it's not exactly a citywide cleanup. It's more like picking up the trash, not,
However, I do think
It would get confused.
for
yes.
future years, we should try to build something like that into the budget once a
Well-
year, because that is amazing.
Yes.
I think that probably is
We, oddly enough, before I knew any of this discussion was gonna happen, we were discussing the future of nuisance and how to handle it and having a more simplified ability to handle nuisances and report them, and that way we could have it cleaned up quickly. I've had some really rudimentary discussions with Dave about what it might look like, and I would love to see it, because right now it's so convoluted and difficult the way it's written. So
And we've actually reached out to the codifiers because with spring coming, and I've had some folks in my office talking about trash in areas and just trying to figure out what we can legally do and enforce. I'm not sure that I'm going to get everything I'd like to have, like I had in Missouri, to be able to assess it to a property tax bill. But we do have some sample ordinances, which I've shared with Shari and with Chief today that came in yesterday from the codifier. And we're looking to, even though the recodification project is going to take about a year, there are some chapters we're going to try to get some things changed quickly that make sense. So we, have a little more teeth to enforce these things. I would suggest that if we were going to do some sort of event like this, where people were going to pick up certain areas, I think you treat it almost like the Adopt a Highway program. If you're gonna be at the park or here or there, you just collect everything, get the bags, then I think the best thing would be for us to just have somebody come in with a truck or a dump truck and just throw the bags and just haul them off for the day. What's your thought?
I I mean, if we had to, we could have the dumpsters out of there whenever the time frame is up. Yeah, and we can do either one.
Yeah.
But
I'm
It's only three, it's
They
three,
sit
3-yard
overnight.
dumpsters and.
If they sit over an hour and there's nobody there, you're gonna have
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff. That's why I'm thinking that if they're working certain areas that they're cleaning up, they're gonna have their bags. And it would be easy for us to send one of our 550s with the dump body or just send the trash truck by at a set time. They could have their volunteers could collect things, have them at the 3 sites that they want cleaned up. And we send a truck and they have somebody there until we come by and we get that stuff picked up. And take care of
And
it.
that's what costs $60,000?
No.
The citywide
Your
cleanup.
citywide that you're going,
Yes.
oh, with everything, it can be 20 to 100,000 depending on how big your city is.
Yes, it is very.
So not that kind of cleanup.
Right,
Just-
and yeah, we are happy to verbiage and brand
Yeah.
this however it will make the most.
That's what I
be
was
the
gonna
most
ask,
clear. So
is
yes,
to
I do
make sure.
apologize for any, I didn't want to give anybody a scare, I
Yeah.
apologize for that, but
No.
no, we are looking at what we can do with our public spaces as well as our private, privately owned properties, everybody kind of say, hey, let's put our best face forward for all these, because it is going to be a lot of people in town, we're gonna see a lot of faces we don't know, and hopefully we bring them all this month.
Adam, doable. If they just keep somebody at those sites and we have a set time and then we
Yeah.
run by and we'll just bring a crew of a couple days.
Ideally, we were looking at having the cleanup from 8 AM to 11 AM, which is about what it's been in the past. We could
Okay.
even potentially have somebody, stationed until noon or 1. depending
Oh,
on what your guys'
it shouldn't take that long. I think if we know that it's gonna
Right.
end at 11, Adam could just say, we're gonna be at this side at 11, we're done there, we're gonna go here and there. Yeah, and just
Yeah,
wrap
that'd
it
be
up.
We're absolutely open to whatever, whatever we can do to make something happen.
So everybody trash bags.
Yeah.
Yes.
Trash
Yeah.
bags.
Something simple, make it so that it's clear that it's not
It's
a,
not open.
it's,
trash
yeah, it's not
items,
open,
yeah,
it's not
right.
loose items, it's closed in a bag or
Yeah.
something along those lines, just so that people aren't trying to toss those items in there.
Well, is there a larger problem with things, garbage and stuff? Is there?
You mean around town? Oh, there's a lot of garbage around.
Yeah, there's a ton of garbage.
I just don't even notice it.
Oh my gosh.
If you go down to the ball diamonds by Wapsie, the winds are
Oh,
blowing
yeah, I
towards-
know, yeah.
Yeah,
Fence line in Kimberly.
Yeah, fence
And
line.
it gets caught up in the brush. and it
Short
gets-
Street.
But so is this, I mean, and this is great and all well and good and just something to like think about, but is this kind of like stashing stuff before your mom comes over? And like, so the problem would be that like maybe we wanna think about it as a whole later, too, so that we don't have to do this before mom comes over. We're just ready.
Yeah, I was thinking if we do the ordinance route or clean up our ordinances, we just need to give the community a heads up, because just like with parking, well, you used to let me park there and now I'm getting, we don't want that to happen with
Right. I mean,
property owners.
I
Yeah.
went to a couple areas where I totally understand why the woman that came to my office was upset about the trash and debris around her neighborhood. It's horrible.
Yeah.
And it's a matter that we need to have a little more teeth to have property owners clean up the messes that are on their properties. And
Yeah.
these just happen to typically be around some multifamily areas, but there's some single family stuff that's there that I'd be upset too. I mean, I fully see it. And that's why we reached out to our codifier to get some ordinances that will hopefully give us a little more teeth to where we can enforce some things and
See, I
Put
thought
some
we could
penalties.
already with the
Well,
current code.
you
We
can,
just
but
haven't been.
No, you can, but it has multiple hoops that you have to jump through in order
we're
to
gonna
get
try to
it.
make it simpler.
Oh, okay.
The other thing is how you brought that up. I know that when we had interim Lyra here, what we were doing was posting in the paper. We would post what quadrant we were working on, and we posted a map out on our website so that we could say, we're gonna come look in quadrant 1. These are the nuisance violations we're gonna look for. That is something that I would like to get back to. I handle that administrative portion. So I will work with Chief Werling to see if we can get that back up and going. With it being winter time and stuff, there just weren't a lot of things coming through, but now that it's springtime, people are starting to have more items going through. So we've been sending out more nuisance violations in the last couple of weeks. So.
I have a question. Is the goal of this to clean up the public spaces or for homeowners to clean up their home areas or both?
It's sort of twofold. From the approach that the chamber would like to take, we're recruiting volunteers to clean up the public spaces. But we would also like to encourage, I mean, a lot of it is just letting people know that we're going to have all these people coming into town. I can't come to your house and say, you need to clean your room, young man. But I can say, gosh, it'd be really nice if this looked a lot better when, you know, when mom comes over, or, you know, to use your analogy. So it's a little bit of both. But, you know, I think we can find a way, if we're talking specifically, everything has to be in trash bags, and we have specific, you know, pickup locations that are already designated. I mean, honestly, right now, I'm super optimistic that we can find a way to make this work to where if people are like, yes, I am gonna clean up my yard this weekend, I'm gonna get all the trash out of my chain link fence, whatever that looks like, and I'm gonna put it in bags, and I'm gonna take it 5 blocks, 6 blocks, whatever that looks like, to the drop site, because they wanna make sure that they're doing work as well. I'll take the trash bag, and no offense, but if you guys don't want to take it, I'll take it home, you know, whatever that looks like. We'll figure out a way to put our best face forward and really make West Liberty shine.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that private, you know, homeowners would do that anyway, but I'm constantly having to pick up trash that flows into the yard anyway, and you know, walking through like a park and picking up loose garbage, but yeah.
I always like to give the benefit of the doubt and claim that it must have blown out of a garbage truck, because nobody would actually just throw that on the ground, but that's me being ever the optimist, so.
And I know we've started doing brush pickup, is that correct?
Tomorrow.
Yep.
Tomorrow's first
Tomorrow
day.
is the first day of brush pickup. And Adam, maybe you can answer this, but I did have a, sorry, I don't mean to digress.
No,
I did have a quick question on the Muscatine County Transfer Station. Do the brush area that you can drop off, is that changed to where it's only Muscatine City residents?
That I don't know, but they have restricted their access to pretty much everything, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Because I was told by
You
somebody
can't
who
take
lived there
anything
recently
out of
that
town.
now we can't take our brush down there because that part is restricted to only City of Muscatine.
I can call the head guy down there tomorrow and find out.
Okay, yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
okay. Because they have somebody manning that area now, I guess, to check.
Yeah, I didn't-
I'll make a motion to approve June 11th as the citywide, I'm gonna call it a pickup day. Instead of cleanup is so confusing. And for Melissa to work with the city manager and Adam on dumpster placement or how they want to arrange pickup of these items.
Or do you think you want to use dumpsters, or do you want to just have bags and we just throw them in as we go?
Bags would stop people from bringing mattresses and desks, and because
That's
if
what-
they see a dumpster, that
If you
will
have a
happen.
dumpster, we'll end up with more. I think they basically, is they're cleaning up those public areas, we have 3 areas. They clean up, they just put their bags there. Like I said, we'll have a truck come by, you know, right at 11, go to the next spot or the next spot and just get rid of them.
All right, so we had a motion and a second, yes, all those in favor? Any opposed? All right, that's 5-0, we will do, citywide pickup day.
Thank you very much.
Next is resolution 2022-0405-18, a resolution to approve donation of library shares to the Dreamcatcher organization and remove from city inventory.
Allie.
And this is roll call vote, is that right?
Yeah,
Yes.
because you're.
Yeah, because you're getting rid of,
Great.
yep.
Any discussion? Anybody have any questions for me? Do you want to explain what they'll be used for?
Yeah, Dreamcatchers has expressed interest in them for use at their, at the house. They have a house over by Dental Family Dentist. They are chairs that rock back. The problem that they cause in the library is they're a trip hazard as you walk past any of the tables that have those chairs at them. And we also have new chairs that we got from the children's department. The other, whatever chairs won't be used will be utilized by there's a woodworking mentee. And they will be used, I believe, in a glow forge for some cool like 3D printing laser stuff. I don't know, but I want one here. But they'll be put to good use, and, because of the cost of wood at the moment, it's, kind of ridiculous, so, they're able to put these good oak chairs to use. It's what, Chief Werling's currently fitting. Oh, yeah.
Any other discussion?
And I can lean back.
Uh-huh.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Please don't scare me.
I know.
Senator Grove. So we'll do a roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Passes 5-0. Get rid of the chairs and give them to a new purpose.
Yeah, thank you.
Lovely. Next is discussion and appropriate follow-up to amend the electrical system service rules.
Ed, are you on Zoom?
No, I'm
Oh, he's here. He showed up. Come on in. I didn't know you snuck in. on
Ed's
us.
here.
I saw you.
You want to give us an update?
You wanna know what the deal is?
Yeah, just give us a little summary of why we're doing this.
Well, basically, because when we originally drafted the electric rules, we weren't, we didn't include everything that we needed to include in that to get those disconnects put below the meters. And really the disconnects were wanting to install for the safety of the first responders if they ever have to respond to a house fire. And shut the power off, they don't have to wait for the electric department to show up. And then it's also for the safety for us, if we have to go and pull a meter or something like that, we can shut the power off. That's really what it's doing. It's pretty much making it to where when anybody's gonna have any work done, that they're just gonna be mandatory. It's already in the code, but in the electric code, NESC. So we're just following along with that. No, just new ones. And then if they do a service upgrade, they have to do it, but this will be pretty much any time we have to go disconnect them for electrical work, then you have to be required. It's hard to tell. Could range from $250 to unknown, depends on the house.
I'll make a motion to approve the updated electric system service rules.
Second.
Sorry, no, that's okay. I'm sorry. Over here, we had.
Yes.
Yes. That passes 4-1. Next is item E, discussion and appropriate follow-up solid waste department 2023 Freightliner rear load garbage truck. Where are we at with that?
Well, you had approved the one-man truck. This is a rear load. Our current, and Adam can speak more to the history of it. We've spent a lot of money on repairs on our rear load, and we have an opportunity to have one the 1st of July. Otherwise, we're looking at 2 years out minimum before we have another one available for our use. We do have our trash rate study. I do, would like to get the committee together to discuss that. More than likely, we will end up, even with the trash rate increase, we will probably do a lease purchase on this, and that's something that would come in a later meeting if you approve going forward and looking at this truck. Adam, anything you want to add?
It's a gem.
We can add this to the next budget or make it a budget.
We'll make an amendment to put it in for them, yeah, because actually they have the truck on hand. We could get it earlier. I indicated we would probably wait till July 1st. They're okay with that, knowing that we're going to be getting it. Allows us time to get the financing figured out and back for your approval before purchase. So.
And this truck is linked to empty dumpsters.
Then we'll have two tippers on the back of our current truck. Hopefully they work better. So the main truck is down for whatever reason. Let's just use that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, item E passes 5-0. Next item F, city council work session for April 15th for PCC ambulance billing at 6 o'clock.
And we actually need to change that to May 3rd. I messaged Travis and Michelle and they're not available until the 3rd. They have a bunch of stuff coming up this month. They're going out to a bunch of different departments. So May 3rd, they would be available to do that
At 6.
at 6, yeah.
We have a motion for May 3rd. Motion. Second. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, we will meet May 3rd at 6 o'clock. We will move on to reports. City engineer Leo.
Good evening. Two things to report on. Rainbow and Maxon Avenue. Our engineers, civil engineers have been sending files to BHMG for the electrical rehabilitation. Sounds like they need a couple of months to get their designs ready. And then we'll incorporate that with the plans. And we've been meeting with the city manager and get the funding in place. So hopefully in the fall, we'll be able to put the plans on the street to be bid. Well, number 2 with Northway, we've been talking to them constantly, trying to figure out if they could get here. They tell me they now have a well rig ready to go. They were concerned about the wind coming in tomorrow. So they're probably going to they told me they were going to try to mobilize on Friday and take the metal trimming down that they need to take down, and then probably do the brushing next week. So I know they talked to Danny also earlier this week. So it does sound like Danny has some work for them to do on another well. It looks like needed some advice from them. And West Liberty Foods has some well problems. So they're going to be in town now for a couple of weeks here, and hopefully we can get this brushing all done and move forward. So I'm optimistic things are moving. And that's all I had, unless you have questions.
So by fall, I thought we were talking, I mean, what is the pushback?
Our delay is getting the material that we're going to need to rebuild the electrical lines and then relocate those. If you recall, there were 7 poles that have to be relocated, but as Ed put it, we have kind of a cobbled up mess in a few spots where wires are crossing back and forth.
Right.
Now is the time to really fix that as we're going to be putting in a permanent street. So for me, it's a little late to be bidding like a project for this summer. So the goal would be to try to get I talked to Ed last week. He said that they believe they'll have the electrical stuff done in a couple of months. We'll get a sign off on the civil. We'd like to maybe even get the electrical portion of that done this fall so they can bid the street work to begin first thing in the spring next year to have the roads done next year.
So just a year behind.
With everything we're seeing, I mean, we're looking at transformers are taking like a large transformers a year out, Ed, 2 years on some equipment, it's just, we're still trying to get things
So I guess
back up to
we have this,
speed.
part of the problem is we have this cobbled electrical work, yes? In the streets, who cobbled the electrical work? Was it one of you guys, Leo?
It was probably the best decision made back in the day.
Years ago.
It was years ago. It was probably the best decision that they could make at the time. And like I said, I try not to criticize past work, but now is the time that we want to. I mean, Ed said that it needs to be fixed, and now is the golden opportunity since we're going to be paving Rainbow and Max. And so it's the perfect time to get it
And if we're
done.
gonna do this, we gotta do it right.
Yeah.
First time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Is there other places that might have this going on?
Oh, I'm sure there are, but we'll, as we,
We'll get to it.
as we get to projects and things, that's something we'll have to, just work on. This just
That's what our
happened.
CIP project.
Yeah.
is for.
So,
That's what a CIP plan is. Just to get rid of the stuff.
So as we look, whether, if it ties into a street project or it just becomes an electrical project, it's something that we'll have to plan for and then do.
Typically, when we do a civil project, we plan to just relocate poles as easily as possible. The problem here, there was two problems. One is they couldn't even get poles to relocate for 6 months. So that kind of threw us out of the window we would be in. And then also as people say, the electrical way it's currently wired in a cobbled up area, it just makes it so that 6 months probably makes it so it's smart to take a really good look at everything on each end of it.
Well, I guess then it's a good thing we couldn't get the pools for 6 months because we have all this other stuff, like it's not gonna put us back or is, I just,
Yeah, it'll be fine.
yeah, okay, I'll stop.
We'll make it work and in the end, it'll be a project the city will be proud of.
I'm sure,
Yeah,
I have
done
no
right.
doubt about that, I have no doubt about that, but it's also, people's business to know if supplies are, if their own supply chains are screwed up, and it would have been nice to know
Yeah.
earlier. That's all. But, great, okay. City staff minutes.
Just if anybody has any questions on the minutes. I was out of the office a couple of days, but back full force and got a lot going on.
So committee meetings.
Thank you, Leo.
Thank you.
Cara and I met with Michael from Memorials by Michael and Miss Shari down at the cemetery to talk about our 2 new columbariums to come in maybe in the next couple of weeks. We're hoping in the next couple of weeks. But there's some cement work that has to be ground first before the new ones can be set, and the old ones are gonna have to be lifted and some grinding done on those foundations because the foundations are not level.
And they were made like that originally before, just so everybody's aware, it was made for drain off. But the problem is they're sitting on essentially a teeter totter right now.
Surface, so you've got a flat granite.
Yep.
Structure on a ground surface, and it's not sitting level.
So what they're,
Memorials by Michael is gonna come in and grind the 2 that don't have anything sitting on them. And then when we get the crane service in here, they'll lift the first two that we've set down and put them on the front pads, grind off the back pads, and we'll set the new ones back there. Anyway, it's gonna be a process.
and they are
And it's
sealing
very-
them. So though there will not be any ability for the water to get underneath there, they will be sealed, which it wasn't discussed in the beginning. It was more so the design layout, how it was set up was not designed to have that sealed down when we brought Memorials by Michael in, because Salem Stone is really far away. When we brought them in to help us out, they started discussing it, and they do a lot of columbariums themselves. And so they have walked us through the entire project. And so we're going to look to get that sealed and look good for people, because we've had a lot of people come in and complain about the gapping between them. And nobody has any cremains in there right now. We are waiting for that portion until we move them, just so everybody is aware.
Shari is coordinating, because we're coordinating a lot of people to get all this together at the same time.
Yeah.
And Sherry's been working with all of them, been really good about that. So, and I thank her for that. That's all I have.
That involves coordinating the crane and then the person that's going to come and grind the concrete.
And we'll also need, so the first day isn't going to be bad, which is tomorrow. Actually, they'll be here tomorrow to do those first 2. The second day is what's going to be a lot. We're going to have to coordinate with our guys for the dump trucks, because we have to get them off of the semi to get them into the cemetery. We have to coordinate with the crane company. We have to coordinate with the delivery company and make sure that Memorials by Michael is also available. So it's a really big project that's coming up right now. Do you guys have any questions for me? I'm the one that has headed most of it, so I have a little bit more information. I'm in contact with Michael pretty much every single day, so.
Is it ever going to be resealed ever, or is this sealing just for good?
The sealing will seal it for good. They're sealing it with putty. He called it putty. It's not concrete, it's putty something, and it seals it from the, so they put the putty down, they set it down on it, and it seals out.
Any other community reports?
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right,